All right, let's go ahead and do the first problem of the mixture problems. If 800 milliliters of a juice drink is 15% grape juice, how much pure grape juice should be added to make a drink that is 20% grape juice? And just so that you understand, when a glass of juice is 15% grape juice, that means 85% of it is water. Just as and we might find that that's a little bit too weak, and so we want to make it a little stronger. We'd rather have 20% grape juice, taste a little bit sweeter and better. We don't want it too strong, but we need to add some pure grape juice into this to make it a little bit a higher percentage of grape juice. Okay, so how do we set this up? So we are going to create a table. We already talked about setting these up in the last video. And basically, if we have the rate or percent always goes here, the whole amount that we're going to have of something goes here, and the important amount. And what does that look like for this particular problem? Well, we're basically finding the percent of juice that is pure here, the whole amount of grape juice that we're going to have, and the amount of pure grape juice. So let's go ahead, and we're going to have a certain amount that we start with, a certain amount that we add, and we're going to finish off with a different mixture at the end here. So let's go. What do we do in this here? We're basically, the percent of juice that we're starting off with is 15%. And we're going to write that as a decimal in here, as this is 15/100ths of grape juice is pure. So if we put it in here, we're going to put 15% as a decimal is 15/100ths. All right. And how much of that grape juice is there? Well, there's 800 milliliters. So we add that in there. Okay. Next part here. Then we're going to be adding in here pure grape juice. Well, what percent of that? Well, it's 100%. It's pure. How do we write that as a decimal? That's actually one whole thing of grape juice. Everything is. So it's basically we're going to put a 1 in there. All right. And how much do we add? That's what we want to know. And when we want to know something, then we're going to make that our variable in here. And we make sure that when we write this whole thing out, I'm not doing it on the slideshow here, but we should define our variable here. What x is the amount of grape juice of pure grape juice that we're adding in here. Okay. And then the next part is what we actually know a little bit of information about what we want to finish. We know we would like to finish with 20% grape juice. So we're going to know our decimal here as 2/10 or 20/100ths in here. And now that's basically all the given information. We basically have 4 more squares that we need to fill in. And all the information that we've been given here actually is going to help us fill those in here. So what's the first thing in here? We know that we have, in this case here, if we have 15% grape juice here, we multiply that times 800. That's going to give us the amount of pure grape juice that we have here. We multiply those two numbers together. Remember that we multiply these across as we're going here. We can also multiply these two across. We know it's 100% of x. 1 times x gives us 1x. We also know that in the second and third columns here that we can add these two rows together. We know if we have 800 milliliters of something and we add another x milliliters, we're going to get 800 plus x milliliters that we're going to end up with. And we also know two things. Actually, once we're looking at this final square is where everything comes together. You have a few different choices about what you can put here. We could add up these two cells here and write that in here, or we can multiply across for these two cells and put that in here. But and then the other one you'll do with your equation. So in this case, I decided to multiply the 2/10 times the 800 plus x and put that into this box here. Therefore, the equation that I'm going to get is going to come from these 3 boxes here, because we know that we start with this amount here and we add it this amount. So this one plus this one is going to give us this same one here. That's what we're going to finish with. This is this amount of grape juice, pure grape juice, plus this amount of pure grape juice gives us this amount of pure grape juice. So now we can put that into our equation in here. So there it is. We have the equation. That's how we come up with the equation for this one. Okay. All right. So then we go ahead, and then it's time to solve that equation. So here's a way of solving it. I can skip over that pretty quickly here. Don't forget in this particular part here that when we multiply by this part here, we're going to distribute that 2/10 into the 800 and to the x to get these two numbers. And then the rest of it here is basically just solving that until I get my answer here. And actually, I've answered the question of this, which is I just found that I'm going to add 50 milliliters of pure grape juice to this. So X is 50. So we know that we're going to be adding 50 milliliters of pure grape juice. We just found our answer. But as always, we want to check to make sure that we get this right. And let's do a quick check. We know that we start with 800 milliliters and we are going to add 50. So now we have 850 milliliters at the end. What's 20% of 850 milliliters? How much pure grape juice do I get? That gives us 170 milliliters. Now, does that match with what we added in there? Well, we started off with 15% of 800, which is 120 milliliters of pure grape juice. And then we know from our answer that we added 50 milliliters, 120 plus 50 gives us 170 milliliters, and that equals to what we found the other way. So we know that matches what we found in the first part, and therefore this all checks out. All right, so that's how you solve these problems.